The galaxy had long regarded humans as fragile, unpredictable, and ultimately insignificant. Civilizations spanning hundreds of systems often scoffed at the stories of human resilience, their capacity for endurance, and their stubborn refusal to submit to overwhelming odds. Yet on the planet of Lyrathia, where towering crystalline spires pierced the violet skies and oceans shimmered with iridescent light, one human was about to challenge that perception. In ways no alien species could have foreseen, Kale had arrived on Lyrathia as part of a delegation tasked with establishing a fragile alliance between humanity and the Thaw, ruling Lyri Council. At first, his presence seemed almost ceremonial, a symbol of goodwill rather than a force of tangible impact. He was a soldier by training, a man of discipline, honor, and unyielding courage. Yet in the elegant corridors of the royal palace, his skills appeared trivial. The Lyri people were tall, graceful, and possessed abilities that made even the most seasoned human feel small in comparison. They communicated with subtle waves of energy and could manipulate their environment, with gestures that Kale could only describe as magic. Despite this, Kale carried himself with quiet confidence. He observed, learned, and adapted. Where others hesitated, he acted. Where others relied solely on their innate abilities, he relied on reason, ingenuity, and instinct honed over years of facing impossible scenarios. The royal family, particularly the young Princess Elara, took notice. She was unlike any of her peers. Bright, curious, and deeply aware of the political games that surrounded her. She often sought Kale's perspective, intrigued by the way a human could analyze threats and opportunities that her people seemed to overlook. Peace was tenuous. Lyrathia's enemies had grown restless. Beyond the shimmering barrier of the outer systems lurked the Vryn Collective, a militant species driven by conquest and the assimilation of weaker worlds. The Lyri Council had long fortified their planet, but intelligence suggested a coordinated strike was imminent. Kale, despite being a foreigner, had been appointed to a protective detail for the royal line. His orders were clear: defend the princess and her family at all costs. It began on a night when the moons of Lyrathia aligned, casting twin shadows across the crystalline towers. The palace was quiet, yet Kale's instincts screamed vigilance. Scouts had reported unusual movements near the outer perimeter ships cloaked in darkness, moving like predators through the void. Kale's hand rested on the grip of his energy rifle, eyes scanning every reflective surface, every corner where an intruder could hide. The attack came without warning. Vryn dropships descended, armed with weapons designed to pierce Lyrathia's famed energy shields. The palace erupted into chaos. Alarms echoed, the royal guards mobilized. And Kale found himself in the midst of a storm he had anticipated, but could never truly prepare for. Princess Elara was cornered in the central chamber, her advisors frozen in fear. Kale surged forward, intercepting the first wave of Vryn soldiers. His movements were precise, efficient, and brutally effective. He fought not as a member of the Lyri species, but as a human who had learned to survive when the odds were impossible. Each strike, each maneuver, was calculated to protect the royal family. When a Vryn warrior lunged at Elara, Kale threw himself in its path, taking a wound meant for her. Pain lanced through his side, but he refused to falter. The princess watched, heart pounding, as this human bled for her life. There was a clarity in that moment that she could not deny. Kale's courage was absolute, his loyalty undeniable. The palace guards, inspired by his sacrifice, rallied with renewed vigor. Together, they repelled the invaders, though not without cost. Walls were shattered, corridors burned, and Kale's blood had soaked the floors of the grand hall he had sworn to protect in the aftermath. The Lyri Council convened to assess the damage and losses. The royal physician tended to Kale, surprised at his resilience. Where a Lyri might have succumbed to even minor injury, Kale's human body resisted, adapting and stabilizing in ways that seemed almost miraculous to the alien healers. Princess Elara remained at his side, silent and watchful. As the council deliberated, it was the queen who finally spoke, her voice carrying the weight of authority and recognition that none could contest. She had observed Kale's actions from the first moment of the assault to the final retreat of the enemy. He shed his blood for the royal line, she declared, her tone calm yet unyielding, and now he is ours. The words reverberated through the chamber. There was no ambiguity in her statement. Kale was no longer merely an ally, a protector, or a soldier. He had earned a place within the royal domain, recognized by the highest authority on Lyrithia. The implications were profound. A human, a species considered fragile and inconsequential by so many, had proven their worth beyond debate. Kale himself felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had acted not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Yet he understood the significance of the Queen's proclamation. This was not a reward in the conventional sense. It was acknowledgement, a validation of human strength, courage, and moral conviction. In the days that followed, life on Lyrithia shifted subtly but irrevocably. Kale trained alongside the royal guards, sharing his combat techniques and strategies, while learning to navigate the unique abilities of the Lyri. The palace, once a place of rigid hierarchy, became a hub of collaboration. Human ingenuity met Lyri power in ways that strengthened their defenses and deepened the bond between species. Princess Elara, who had once regarded Kale with curiosity, now looked upon him with respect and a deep sense of trust. She consulted him not just on matters of security, but on diplomacy, exploration, and the philosophy of leadership. Kale's perspective, shaped by a human experience of struggle and survival, offered insights the Lyri had never considered. As months passed, the shadow of the Vryn collective remained a threat. But the story of Kale's heroism spread across Lyrithia and neighboring systems. Rumors circulated, as they always do, about the human who defied expectation and earned the recognition of a queen. Diplomatic envoys treated humans with newfound respect, realizing that underestimating them could be fatal. Kale himself remained grounded. He knew that survival was never guaranteed, that each day could bring challenges that demanded courage and sacrifice. Yet he also understood something deeper, the bond he had forged with the royal line, and the acknowledgement of his worth represented more than personal achievement. It was proof that humanity, despite its perceived fragility, could rise to meet any challenge, defend allies, and shape the destiny of worlds far beyond its own. Years later, when new threats emerged, and Lyrithia faced challenges that required both strength and diplomacy, Kale's presence remained central. He became a symbol, not just of human resilience, but of the potential that existed when determination, loyalty, and courage transcended species. Children on Lyrithia, both human and Lyri, learned his story, and with it, the lesson that true valor knows no boundaries of origin. The Queen, observing him from her chambers, would often say to her advisers, "He is ours, and with him, we are stronger than we have ever been." The declaration was not merely ceremonial. It was a truth forged in blood, courage, and the unwavering spirit of a human who refused to yield. Kale continued to serve with honor, his life intertwined with the destiny of the royal line he had protected. Every challenge, every battle, was met with the same unshakable resolve that had earned him his place beside the Queen. And in every quiet moment, when the stars stretched endlessly beyond Lyrithia's crystal towers, he reflected on the journey that had begun as a mission and had become a testament to the extraordinary capacity of humanity. In the end, it was not the victories that defined him, but the choices he made when confronted with impossible odds. Each act of courage, each moment of selflessness, rippled outward, shaping a world and a people who had once doubted the strength of humans. The Queen's proclamation, simple yet profound, captured the essence of this truth. Kale had shed his blood for the royal line, and through that sacrifice, he had become a part of something greater than himself, a living proof of humanity's remarkable place in the cosmos. And so, Kale's legend endured, a human among the stars whose loyalty, courage, and indomitable spirit would be remembered long after the battles had ended and the stars had shifted in the endless void of space. In every corner of the palace, in every whispered tale of heroism, his name was a reminder. Even in a galaxy that doubted humanity, the human heart could shine brighter than any star.